Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Daily Dizzle for Tuesday, December 21st, 2010. You've got 4 days until Christmas, so you better get out and finish up all of your Christmas-related activities, shopping, gift wrapping, all of that crap. Get it out of the way and get it done with so we can get this holiday over with. Unfortunately, we are not like that. We like to, take things and stretch them out as long as possible. That is why we still have to get to the Billboard Top 100 Christmas Songs breakdown eventually. We will get to that later in this week, probably Christmas Eve. Today we got enough things to cover as is. We've got Monday Night Football coverage, the Vikings playing for pride with Brett Favre taking the field again against the Bears, who are looking to clinch a playoff spot. In addition to that, the 80s are upon us with some Pee Wee Herman and Alf news. We have another installment of Death versus Breakup, which one won today. News on the Bakugan movie. That's just like Justin Bieber, where it just makes me so excited that I'm very joyed to bring this great news to you. We also have the latest DVD release news. But now to the box office actuals for the weekend. Of course, number one went to Tron Legacy. Ended up taking over $44 million for the weekend. Number two went to Yogi Bear, also debuting, just over $16.4 million. Number three was held by the Chronicles of Narnia 3, dropping just under 50% to $12.4 million, just under there. The Fighter expanded in a nationwide release to expected results. It got about $12.1 million, so it's already made back half its budget, and if it keeps getting nominated for the awards, it will play for the next couple months. Number 5 went to Tangled. Even though it dropped a lot of its 3D screens to Tron, it still held up very, very well for animated movie standards, dropping under 40%. It made just under $9 million for the weekend. Number 6 goes to The Tourist. Just like the Chronicles of Narnia 3, it's not holding up well. Dropping within 0.1% actually of the Chronicles of Narnia 3. That one only took in $8.5 million for this weekend. So far, that one's only made $30 million off of a $100 million budget. So that is going to take a while to recoup any of the expenses from it. Number 7 went to The Black Swan, which, though the hype is dying down a little bit, it's already made back its budget. It made $8.3 million for the weekend. And it's still, having at this point has had a higher per theater average than The Fighter so far, which does seem to be the big ones in contention for the Oscars. So it's interesting to see how they compare side by side. Coming in at number 8 for the weekend, we have the big story, the big movie story. Not for how successful it was, but on the opposite end of how awful it is doing. We have How Do You Know? It made under $7.5 million for the weekend off of a budget of $120 million. It'll be lucky if it can make a quarter of that back while it's in theaters. The holiday might help it a little bit, but other than that, I don't think they're ever going to see that money come back into the studio pockets. Number 9 went to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, just over $5 million. Its 5th week of release might not cross $300 million, which not all the Harry Potters have done so, but at least the stronger performing ones have. Maybe everyone's just saving their money to see Part 2 1,000 times. Who knows? Number 10 goes to Unstoppable, still holding well, even after about a month and a half out in theaters. Just under $2 million for the weekend it earned. Number 11 went to Burlesque from Thanksgiving. It made $1.4 million. Rounding out the top 12, we've got Due Date, which made over $1.2 million. At this rate, it actually sits at $97 million total for since it came out. And at this point, it is within inches of crossing the century mark, $100 million. So we expect that to happen in the next couple of weeks, and expect us to have coverage of that as well. And speaking of the latest movies, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the people who pretty much run the Oscars, even though they will not be announcing the nominations for another month, on January 25th, they have sent out the ballots to start voting on which movies are eligible for Best Picture for the 2010 Academy Awards. 248 movies are on that list. And surprisingly, that's down from the previous years. 2009 saw 274 on that list, and 2008 saw 281. So they're thinning out the herd. Next time I ever think that I have not limited my choices down enough, as long as I'm at 247, I'll feel like I limited it down more than other people may have for other important things. So moving on from that, we've got Monday Night Football coverage. We've got the Bears looking to clinch the NFC North after the loss from the Packers over the weekend. But they're taking on Brett Favre and the Vikings. Favre's possible last appearance ever on Monday Night Football. He opened strong with a touchdown, but then the Bears kind of took over from there, eventually knocking Favre out in the second quarter, leading Joe Webb to take over. While he kind of had some good scrambling going on a little bit, he really didn't do much, only ended up scoring one touchdown in the second half for them. Going to halftime, it was 17-7, the Bears leading, and they only kept going from there. Eventually, the final score was 40-14. So at this point, the Bears have made it as the fourth team, other than the Falcons, the Steelers, and the Patriots, to clinch playoff spots. And meanwhile, with the Vikings, the big story is, are we going to see Favre again? Is he ever going to play for the team? Or will he go elsewhere? Or will he just finally call it a day? I think at this point, when you can't go more than a quarter without getting knocked out of your games and having to take a seat for a while until next week, I really think it's about time he calls it quits. And maybe he'll get that message soon. Regardless, though, you can make the argument that his consecutive starting streak just got ended. So at this point, and now he can do the, sit out a couple games, sit out, play. But still, that'll only tarnish the legacy more than he already has. So we'll get some more answers to that question, next season in the postseason. But for now, we're going into playoff season with 2 weeks left to play. A lot can happen. So we'll have full coverage of that on the upcoming Daily Dizzles through the end of this month going into the new year. Switching over from football to a little bit of TV news. It looks like Pee Wee Herman's Broadway performance that is running through January 2nd right now, the Pee Wee Herman Show, is actually going to debut on HBO sometime within the next year. They tend to do that with a lot of their stand-up comedy routines, like Ricky Gervais, Jerry Seinfeld. They'll film it and then put it on their channel eventually. So that's going to be awesome. Pee Wee Herman returns to the channel that actually started him. And it's also going to reunite him with the original director of the original 1981 HBO special, The Pee Wee Herman Show. So that's kind of at least neat for the fact that they're keeping history going and bringing back all the creative geniuses of the original. So it'll be very interesting to see what their vision of Pee Wee Herman looks like almost 30 years on. In other similar 80s icon news, it's an old clip that has been on the internet for years, but it's just getting more attention in the last couple of days. If you haven't seen it, if you go look up Alf bloopers, now with more swearing, and I swear to God that's the exact description that you'll need to pull it up. You'll get to see a lot of fun things. If you ever heard of the show Alf, the alien, I really don't know what else to say other than you'll get to see him drop N-bombs. Ask the other female actresses on the show to straddle him in bed. And you'll see him in a business suit blowing lines. Or at least, insinuating it. So, yeah, that's all you gotta really know. Alf, the alien, blowing lines. Go look up that video, a minute and 30 seconds in, that's what you'll need to see it. It's one of the most entertaining things in the world. So to move on from something a little entertaining to a little bit more sad, in another installment of Death vs. Breakup, looks like we got to chalk up another win to the big Grim Reaper himself, Steve Landesberg, who is most known from the show Barney Miller in the 70s. Though if you've ever seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which a lot of you have, he plays Peter's pediatrician in it. So a very familiar face, unfortunately, dies at the age of 65 today. So maybe if it pans out. So now to cover the other random news going around Hollywood. Apparently Universal Pictures has big hopes and potential for a Bakugan franchise. Yeah, because the only thing better than one Bakugan movie is a ton. It's like Universal also wanted The Last Airbender to be a potential franchise, but that never worked out as well as they wanted it to due to a shitty 3D conversion. But regardless, The guy who directed Pink Panther 2 and Agent Cody Banks. Should show you how relevant he is that he directed those 2 movies, so I decided not to even bother finding out his name after knowing he did those 2 movies. Regardless, after those 2, he did find a little bit of success with The Karate Kid, so Universal is trying to get him on board. It really makes me wonder why Universal Picture has had so much trouble in the last couple of years with 2009 having Couples Retreat being one of their only $100 million grossing movies, when they're trying to do movies based off of kids' things that have died a long, long time ago. Yay, Bakugan! Yeah! Speaking of retardedness, Lindsay Lohan's in the news again. Apparently she can't stop beating up the orderlies at her rehab clinic. She likes to come in late, past curfew, from the local bars, because that's, a good step to recovery. Regardless, police were called to investigate a possible misdemeanor, but no charges could be filed because a police officer did not witness the potential assault. Good to see that. Lindsay Lohan will always be bringing us some wonderful little bit of news wherever she goes. And now in our last bit of news, since we haven't been doing a lot of Christmas stuff, here's a joyous Christmas story for you from Kim Kardashian. Apparently when she was younger, she had a little puppy named Valentina that she was given for Christmas. But then she died 2 weeks later. Due to snail poisoning, which I didn't even know that dogs could really die from snail poisoning until this moment. So, yeah, her exact explanation. When snails leave a little trail, Valentina got super excited and ate it and died. So, just from her description of it, I just want it to be said that I know so many words. And it's not funny when you're taking it seriously, but if you just think about it for a minute, Kim Kardashian's dog died from a snail trail, and Kardashian did not specify if it was her snail trail, so maybe she murdered the dog. So to move on from that awful little bit, to finish up today's Daily Dizzle, we have got the newest DVD releases for this week, all big ones that have come out pretty much in the last 4 to 5 months in the theaters, some of them as little as 3 months. We've got the M. Night Shyamalan movie Devil, which came out in September, made just over $30 million. That's coming out on DVD this week. We have Easy A featuring Emma Stone, which was actually regarded as a huge box office success, making almost $60 million for a PG-13 comedy. That comes out as well. We've got Salt, starring Angelina Jolie, having made $118 million in theaters. Definitely seems like that might have taken a little bit of the momentum away from The Tourist, having Angelina pop up in too many action or vague-looking movies. Step Up 3D comes out. Be sure to get that with your 3D glasses, because that's a movie that absolutely needs it. Dancing, dancing, dancing! Regardless, that's available too if you are a huge fan of that crap. In addition to that, Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, a movie that was in theaters just 3 months ago, not even, is coming out on DVD. Meanwhile, for the TV shows, I think our pick for the week is definitely the final Family Guy spoof of the original Star Wars trilogy. They're spoofing Return of the Jedi. So Family Guy, It's a Trap. If you haven't seen that, if you haven't seen any of them, you can actually get all 3 of them in a box set together this week. Well, that's about all the time we've got for today on the Daily Dizzle. Thank you for joining us as always. We hope to continue to see you here Monday through Friday. Of course, the rest of this week we'll have the lead up to Christmas. We will even have updates right up to Christmas Eve. We will have a breakdown of the top 100 Christmas songs from Billboard, because I'm sure it's a completely accurate list that we won't be able to pick apart at all. But we'll hope you continue to join us into the new year. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dizzlemits, or you can even just type in Dizzlemits in your YouTube search bar and see which of our original material pops up and see what you like. We thank you as always, and like we said, we hope we'll see you tomorrow. I am Tommy Dizzlemits for the Daily Dizzle. See you tomorrow.